No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Fucking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't look it
legend.
up later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of Iron. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of Iron.
Welcome back to Summoner's Rift. LGD and DMO face off in a battle of the X's as Shie and Mark take on their old team. In Game 1, DMO has a slight gold lead going into the dragon fight, but Shie says, "Remember me?" as he backs that Cass up and squashes Dominus in a dominant team fight as he peanuts on the back line. You figured DMO would remember that Cass. Game 2 wasn't even close. Shie pulled out Syndra and her sexually aggressive ultimate, dropping her old saggy balls on Dominus with reckless abandon. LGD was legendary in this one, and quickly swept Dominus 2-0. Oh my god. More like, oh my god, they're actually winning! Against Knight and the boys! In Game 1, everyone is on Dragon Soul. OMG is up 4-3 and is in position, but Ornn ults them, knocking up several members. Ezreal continuously pokes and looks for an engage in the bot lane. But it's Hacker who goes in and insects Ezreal back into the rest of OMG. OMG wins the fight, secures Dragon Soul, and wins Game 1. After everything returned to normal in Game 2, Top was looking desperate in Game 3, as OMG kept it close and managed to have a gold lead at the 22-minute mark. Top started Baron and wanted OMG to walk into them. Jhin opens up with a curtain call, but Wukong sneaks into the back line for a flank. OMG responded quickly, and both top laners die, but Top continues to chase, picking up a kill on Zoe. Top moves back towards the Baron pit, and Wukong is coming back online. Sylas TP's in, and OMG looks to contest. But now Wukong joins the fight, and Top is holding strong. Yuyanjia dies. OMG looks to escape through the mid lane and into the enemy jungle, but 369, damn he's fine, is on the back line once again, spinning to win and securing the match for Top Esports. What's up, everybody? It's Pykel with League of Items, and yeah, OMG lost. Shocking. So yesterday, let's go through the bets real quick. We got a few things that we have to go through. So the bets from yesterday, we had LGD, or the picks from yesterday, LGD and Top Esports. So I won both of those. Going back to the all bets, I'm 43-22 for 66% on the summer. My opinions have not changed on these teams from the matches last night. This kind of thing happens. Top Esports is allowed to lose games. They're allowed to lose matches. I mean, if they lose matches, I'm not gonna freak out about it. If I'm being honest. But that's that for yesterday. The Draftkings slates were pretty annoying. OMG actually scored a decent amount of points because they kept it close in a few of the games and won one of the games as well. So, like, I think Curse scored more than 369, and it's just some weird stuff. That's why I hate 2-game slates, and that's why I hate 2-game slates when I think both of the favorites are gonna win. But let's go to tomorrow's matches. And I'm gonna break these down a little bit, but I'm not going to give out my picks on the channel. Those are for my Patreon supporters. So first up, we have Invictus Gaming and Rogue Warriors. The lineups are out. I am retweeting. Oh, I already did retweet them. Retweet. I did it. Okay, so first up, this is from Mr. Malmanger. He's shared some of my content. He does some stuff for Rotoballer, I think. So Invictus Gaming, we have the Shy, Ning, Rookie, Puff, and Southwind. Everybody hates Invictus Gaming in general because they are tilting when you bet on them. I think Rogue Warriors could definitely take a game off of them. I think that's where the conversation kind of starts and ends. On a 4-game slate, it's a little less interesting, but when Korea's involved, I think most people are going to look for a Chinese underdog or something like that. For Rogue Warriors, we have Holder, who I think is the second best top laner on his own team. We have Yudong, who I think is the second best jungler on his own team. Wuming, Zwuji, and Lei. So Zwuji and Lei, they have shown that they can go off in matches where they go 1 and 2. You basically just need to have it to go the same way that Top Esports went today, where like one of the games the underdog gets a big lead and then throws it away. One of the games the underdog gets a big lead and keeps it, and then the third game is close or something like that. That's definitely possible tonight. For the AD carry and mid lane builds on Draftkings, I haven't looked at the different like captain the different stacks that you can get, which I'll show on my sheet. I'll show some of it on my sheet, which I'm releasing again for my Patreon supporters. We're doing a monthly charge instead of per sheet like I used to, because I guess people didn't realize it. Like it was just crazy. They just didn't know what they were signing up for, I guess. But like I said, IG and Rogue Warriors, I think Rogue Warriors is a live dog technically. I think a lot of people are going to like Rogue Warriors. The line on that game was Invictus Gaming minus 370, so that's 79%. Rogue Warriors 27% at plus 265. I think that Rogue Warriors is definitely a live dog, and the value is on their side. But again, not giving out the pick. EDG against Sunning. We have Audi, Jai, Scout, Hope, and Mako. So let me get Gamepedia up, because I know that Junjia has been playing recently for EDG. Not sure why they're making the change here. So in their first match against World Elite, they played Junjia for the first 2 matches, and then they had Gigi come in. Then in their match against OMG, they had Junjia play both matches. Junjia against OMG played Graves in both games. And he had 2 good Nidalee games against World Elite. I do remember that, actually. Jai came in and played Lee Sin. In the playoffs, Jai was playing by the end of the playoffs. He had Sejuani, Lee Sin. So Jai is more of like the Trundle Jarvan kind of player, and Junjia is more of the carry player. So this is very interesting to me, because EDG is built around their mid laner and their AD carry, and they're probably looking at Sunning as a team fighting team. So having a carry jungler could be very good or very bad within one game. So like playing a carry jungler is going to make everything more volatile. You'll have much more stylish wins and much more horrible defeats if you use a carry jungler. If you use a tank jungler, then every game is going to be a little bit easier to predict in terms of where they're going to end up fighting each other. So they'll probably be contesting every single objective, playing a macro heavy game, and there will be like a bunch of big team fights. So if there are, like, let's say there's 4 team fights, and all 4 team fights are one team getting like basically aced, like between 3 to 5 kills against them, then you're going to see a lopsided score that could go as high as like 25-5. That's on the extreme end, but it could go 25-5. If we get a bunch of smaller team fights where 1 or 2 members die from each side, and then the objective is taken, 1 or 2 members die from each side, objective is taken, and that happens for like 4 dragons plus a baron, then you're looking at a significantly lower kill score game. So the fact that EDG and Sunning are opting into the fact that EDG is playing their tank jungler instead of their carry jungler is very interesting for that reason. However, we have seen Sunning kind of change slightly how they play. S of M is a much better jungler than I had thought, and in their matches, even though they haven't won all of their matches, I think they've lost their last 2 matches. Yeah, they lost to JDG, surprise, surprise, and they lost to Invictus Gaming, which I was on the Invictus Gaming side, even though I'm one of the biggest Sunning supporters in the DFS community. So, so we need to kind of think about how S of M is going to match up against Jai Jai. So if Jai Jai is playing tanks and is going to be the more passive jungler in these matchups, then S of M has free reign to play Nidalee, to play Graves, to play Lee Sin, or default onto something like Trundle if he has to, which isn't as strong anymore, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. So I do like the fact that S of M is able to play both roles while EDG needs to swap out a jungler depending on what they're doing. So that's pretty interesting for me. I think that Sunning is a team that I've been high on all year. It's going to come down to whether or not I think they can beat EDG. Let's see. League rankings, I changed this up a little the other day. I still have Sunning and EDG in the same spot, so it's going to be tough to pick between them. But that does mean that the value is going to be on Sunning's side. So EDG minus 217, that's 68%. Sunning 164, that's 38%. This is inflated because I think that this is where the entire VIG is. It's probably closer to 60-40, so we're only really getting 2 points of value. But I could see it being even closer than that, where it's 55-45, something like that. And if you think that it's a 55-45, that's a pretty good bet. Let's go to the LCK. So in the LCK, I'll just bring over Draftkings now. In the LCK, we have a Freak of Freaks against Sandbox, and we have Dragon X against T1. So a Freak of Freaks is minus 147 against Sandbox. If you haven't checked out my Korean preview, I did that. I posted that earlier today. That's about an hour long. It'll give you information about every single team, about the players, how I think they'll do this season. It's pretty in depth, and I know a lot of the people watching aren't necessarily interested in that, but for those of you who really want a deeper dive, that's going to be out there for you before this video comes out. So a Freak of Freaks and Sandbox, and then we have T1 and Dragon X. T1 is minus 196, that's 66% against Dragon X, that's 148. This looks like the VIG is just entirely on T1 and it's 60-40. I think that that's pretty accurate. I could see it being 55-45. In the mid-season cup, Dragon X looked okay, but they crashed out of the group stages. I think T1 looked fine. They were trying a lot of different stuff. They played a lot of Yasuo bot. I think they have a good read on the meta. I'm very excited for T1 on this kind of patch because they have Faker, who's able to play every single kind of mid lane champion and role. So like if he needs to be on an Enchanter, he can do it. If he needs to be on Twisted Fate, he can do it. If he needs to play Corki, he can do it. Just a ton of different styles, and I think that's going to be a big benefit for T1. I guess we can just bring up Draftkings and go lane by lane. So a Freak of Freaks, Keen and Summit. I think Summit's probably better, but Keen had a pretty good split last year, so they're probably close to even. We're not sure who's starting. Actually, we don't even know if Summit is starting, so I hope that he's starting. A Freak of Freaks against On Fleek. A Freak of Freaks against Sandbox. I think that On Fleek is going to be the starter here. All In and Fate will probably be the starters. Mystic and Root will probably be the starters. And then Jelly and Gorilla will probably be the starters, I believe. But that's another thing with Korea, is it's tough to roster them because you don't know who's playing. You don't know who's getting subbed out. And these are two of the bigger question mark teams. I think that there's a chance we see some higher kill score games in Korea because of this split. And they're going to be a lot lower owned. So you kind of have to take that into consideration. Dragon X against T1. I think Khan is better than Doran. I think Cuz and Piosik are very close. Faker and Chovy are close. Chovy's flashier. Teddy and Deft are very close. I think the public would say Deft is better, but Teddy's been very good. Keria against Effort, pretty similar. Keria is a very good support, though. I think he doesn't get enough attention. Not that he doesn't get enough attention. I think that DFS players probably don't understand how good Keria is because it doesn't necessarily show up in his scores. But he had a very good split last season. And in Midseason Cup, he had some pretty interesting spots where like the team put him onto basically a carry champion. And he did okay. So then let's take a look at the salaries. Invictus Gaming is the most expensive, then EDG, T1, Afrika Freaks, Sandbox, Sunning, Dragon X, and Rogue Warriors. Not too surprising. Let's actually do this from the sheet. So the return of the sheet. I don't have the points in here, the projections. I was going to do ownership, but I think ownership is pretty tough to get an accurate number on for a 4-game slate on LPL and LCK when we haven't seen a lot of teams recently. So I would assume that LPL is a little overinflated tonight and that the highest owned players are going to be like in the 30 to 40 range. So I would expect Invictus Gaming and Edward Gaming, their players can probably get up between 30 to 40, whichever one is more popular. Then the second most popular team is probably going to be 25 to 35, and so on and so forth, just like stepping down 5% on both sides of the range every time. But if we look at the implied win rate of the teams, like how they're listed in DraftKings, it makes a lot of sense. So Invictus Gaming is the biggest favorite. They're the most expensive. EDG is the second biggest favorite, second most expensive, so on and so forth. The only one that's out of whack is Dragon X, and that's because they're going up against T1, so that'll probably depress their ownership a little bit. And also they're in Korea, so players don't like playing Korean teams. But you're going to have to consider it tonight, unless you really like one of the Chinese underdogs. Okay, so basically, like, this is the imported CSV. I take out the captain slot, throw that in here. Then I have the rosters, the active rosters. Like, I manipulate this myself. And then this is, these are all the rosters that we've used in the past. I need to make sure that they're all accurate, actually. So, Audi, no. Kana, Cuz, Faker, Teddy, Effort, Keen, Spirit, Fly, Mystic, Jelly. Keen, Spirit, Fly, Mystic. I think it's all in. And I didn't say this one either. So that looks right. Was it Jelly? Probably. Holder. Yeah, we should be good. Yeah, so these are all the active ones. I might mess around with another pass at ownership, but like I said, it's pretty tough. Once I have a couple slates, or even just one slate, I'll probably just give it another shot. So these are the projections. And before I get deep into this, I just want to talk about projections real quick. So everyone loves looking at projections and seeing what everyone thinks is going to happen on a given slate, but projections are pretty worthless in my opinion. I know that might be controversial, but like, all the projections are based off of the salary and the Vegas implied odds. So when you go to a place like Awesemo or Fantasy Cruncher or whatever, like Roto Grinders, all these different places, they're taking in that information that changes based on the market, and then spits it out into projections. So it's like, are they making tweaks to the numbers? Sure, I bet that they are, but they don't. I have not seen another website or YouTube channel or anywhere really that like actually understands League of Legends and is able to adapt before data comes at them. So like going onto a new patch, they don't know how it's going to impact anything. And if they tell you that they do understand, they don't, because like I can anticipate little shifts in like the meta and like how that might impact like the distribution of outcomes over a large sample size, but we're trying to do one-offs. Like we're trying to figure out what are the winners going to score tomorrow in the Draftkings slate for LCK and LPL. It's just a pretty worthless exercise in my opinion. I think if you have opinions, on different players and like you see that a projection is lower than what you think it should be and you have actual reasons for why it should be higher, then you might actually have some like an edge maybe. But in reality, these people who are building lineups the wrong way or using an optimizer or something, they might get onto the same lineup as you for correlation reasons, stacking reasons, or just dumb luck. So like when you're using projections to justify which stack you're going to play, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. Maybe you want to use projections to figure out which one-offs you want to use, but the one-offs are always going to be the same options no matter what. A lot of them are restricted by salary. A lot of them are restricted by positional eligibility. So a lot of these decisions that we're making, you can make them from a projection standpoint. It's just whether or not it works, it's not going to have anything to do with the projection. It's going to have to do with the correlation between the players that you have in the lineup, and that kind of is determined by how the game actually plays out. So we don't even know what champions these players are going to play, and that's another thing that fundamentally changes what a projection should look like. And I guarantee you that there is no website out there that uses champion information to change their projections. There's just no way. And if they did, that'd be a waste of time, because we don't know what they're going to pick. You're changing the probability of what they're going to pick. It just seems like a waste of time, in my opinion, for projections. But I created projections because everybody wants projections. So this is how I look at it. So basically, I take the salary of every player, and then I create a break-even point based off of the salary. So the break-even point is equal to 15% of this number. As time goes on, you can bring in the average points, and that kind of helps a little bit. But a good example of why this is kind of useless is because of something like what happened last night. So going into last night, LGD, there's a hammer being used somewhere in my house right now. If you looked at LGD and Top Esports, right, and you had a statistician look at them and plug that information into a projection set, it would fundamentally misunderstand the difference between Top Esports and LGD. The reason why they're the amount that they've scored is pretty significantly different is because Top Esports has been beating teams 2-0 and LGD has been beating teams 2-1. So even if we say both of those teams win, if you're using projections based off of historical data from Top Esports, you're using historical data that's only with 2 zeros. So it's like you would need to normalize that, and I don't trust any of these people to actually normalize it and make sense of it. I don't think they're doing that. I think they just take this number and they just plug it back in, and it pumps out Top Esports as the highest projection with the highest ownership, because everybody wants to play Top Esports because they're the flashiest team. They get the most kills. So there is an edge there going against that. So when you're considering using my sheet and my projections, if you want to go look at other people's projections and plug them in, go ahead. If you want to look at other people's projections and play against them, I think that's very smart. If you want to go and do something on your own, then great, until I come up with a better system. But I'm very skeptical that I'm going to be able to do something that I think is going to outperform the stacking rules and lineup construction rules that are pretty common at this point. A lot of it's game theory, picking which teams you think is going to actually win, being able to anticipate what the field is going to be playing. Though I think those things are much more important, and you're better off spending your time on those than looking for the best projections out there, because all their projections are biased by who they think are going to win. So back into the sheet. So we have everybody's position, and then the active projection is based off of this column. So right now I have everyone losing 0-2. Obviously that's not possible. I will leave it like this because I don't. I'm gonna tell my supporter, like the Patreon supporters, who I think is going to win the match. But then it's up to them to determine: do I think they're going to win 2-0, 2-1? Just gives them the flexibility to move things back and forth. I think that's much better, and you're going to learn more doing it that way. So here's a break-even point, and then the projection and Vegas. So if we knew that EDG was going to win 100% of the time against Sunning, I think that their not their average, but their ceiling would be somewhere around this number. Well, I guess I shouldn't call it break-even then. So it's either break-even or ceiling. I guess it's break-even because this would be for like a captain slot. 126. Yeah, I guess it is kind of a ceiling. But what you really need is for them to be the top stack on the night, which is another reason why projections just aren't that important. Like if everybody misses projections and goes under, you still need the best one. So then the projected Vegas. So this takes the salary times 15%, and then it multiplies it by the implied win rate. So Invictus Gaming having a higher implied win rate than EDG is going to bump up their projection a little bit. Their per game value is their break even divided by 3. So if they won if they won 3 games, or if they won 2 games, if they swept, how does that go? Maybe that should be calculated off something else. But the per game number really isn't important because these numbers don't use it. Wait, yes they do. But it's the reason that it does. Okay, I'm trying to remember all this because I built this like a month ago. So with the 2-0, you're basically taking this twice, and then you're throwing on the game not played bonus. So that third game, instead of it being cooked into the per game averages, it's included with a plus 20. In this one, when it's 2-1, you are not going to get the full game not played bonus, but the fact that they're winning 2 of the games instead of 1.5 of the games, you have to bump it up a little bit. 1-2, you're only taking that 1 win, but in those other 2 games, they're going to score more than they're going to score more than 0 and less than they would in a win for the most part. So yeah, these are the projections. Like I said, they're not great, but the reason why I include them is because people want them, and it also helps with this sheet. So this is really the most important part of the sheet that I have. This is all the lineups. You kind of have to mess around with this and kind of learn how to use it, but it is it's pretty good, if I say so myself. I might host this online. I'm not sure if I'm going to share this, like the actual file itself, or I'll just create a view of it. But yeah, this doesn't have every single stack possible, but it has most of them, and then you can kind of pivot around afterwards. So we're just going to take a look at Puff, at Mr. Puff Puff Pass himself. So Invictus Gaming with an 80 carry as the captain. Invictus Gaming. So this is your captain team. You have to switch out this to be your primary stack. This is your primary stack right here. These are the options for your captains. Then you got to switch this one around. There's a drop-down list. So let's see. Invictus Gaming versus EDG, too expensive. Invictus Gaming versus T1, too expensive. Invictus Gaming plus a Freak of Freaks, too expensive. A Freak of Freaks plus Sandbox, and now you have options for 4-3. So historically, 4-3s are the best performing lineups, and that's the kind of thing that you don't need a projection system to explain it to you. It's because you're getting 280 carries into your team, and the highest position correlated with AD carries are supports, because supports are generally getting assists every time that an AD carry gets a kill. So that explains that. So these would be 4 options, for example, that I would look at. We have Puff the Shy Ning rookie, Root Gorilla Sandbox. Then another good one would be like Puff Lonely. Lonely? That should be Summit. Summit. I hope it's Summit. Yeah, okay. So those are the 4 threes, and then we can go down to the 3 fours. So the reason why it's important to have both of these is because the differences in salary like open up 3-4 options for stacks that you wouldn't have as 4 threes. So here we have Invictus Gaming, and a Freak of Freaks is now possible. So if you wanted to stack Invictus Gaming with the favorite from that match instead of the underdog, you'd have to use, and have Puff as your captain, you'd have to use a 3-4 instead of a 4-3. So for example, Puff the Shy Ning, All In Mystic Jelly, a Freak of Freaks. Yeah, and then also you can like look at different pivot opportunities based off of the red numbers. Like those are lineups that aren't going to work for anybody, so they have to give up some salary somewhere to like make a lineup. And then you'll also find some interesting spots where something that you would think would work doesn't. So Invictus Gaming with one of the underdogs tonight, Sunning, the 3-4, you can get 3 of them, but that's it. So they're anticipating Huan Feng being pretty popular, which is why they bumped up the salary on him. So let's actually take a look at that. So for 80 carries, we can do it from Draftkings, I guess, actually. Okay, we have Hope, Puff, Teddy, and then Huan Feng. So Hope, Puff, Teddy, Huan Feng. So Huan Feng is the 4th most expensive 80 carry on the slate, even though he's an underdog, because a lot of people will probably play him tonight. Zhuji, that might be a good leverage spot against Huan Feng. I think IG Sunning is probably going to be more popular than EDG Rogue Warriors. I feel like most people think that Sunning is more of a live dog. More people want to play Sunning because they know that Huan Feng can score a lot of points. That's what I was trying to say. But yeah, that's just another thing to keep in mind. And that's basically it. So thanks for watching. If you like these videos, like, comment, subscribe, share it on Twitch, Twitter, Reddit. I could really use some help with people on Reddit. I'm not allowed to post stuff myself on Reddit because it's like self-promotion or something, they call it, where you're not allowed to do that. But if any of you want this to reach more people and help me out, then think about the Reddit. That would be nice. Otherwise, if you want to support the Esportscenter segments, the research that I do, and just like the YouTube channel in general, please consider going to Patreon and following me there. Also, if you want to just support me directly without Patreon and like without being a part of the community and everything, you can find my PayPal link on Twitter in my description, and it's also in the YouTube video description if you want to donate that way. Whatever's better for you, that's great. But yeah, like I said, the Discord channel is where we're gonna have all the picks and everything. So yeah, good luck tonight, everybody. I think I'm probably doing a DFS Bachelor video today, but otherwise that's all I got. Good luck, and I'll see you tomorrow.